Hello and welcome everybody to the first installment of DailyDraftAnalysis.com podcast. My name is Jay, JBlaze39 on in on DraftKings, and JBlaze38 on FanDuel, and um, I'm going to be doing a website. Um, Talking about each matchup. I'll be doing a video, kind of who I like and why I like them, and I'm going to go through it with a different perspective, and because there's a lot of noise out there, and I'm trying to make a website and video for people that aren't pros. The casual guys, that can make some money, and I'm trying to help out the smaller players, to become better players. I love competition, even though some of these players will be probably playing in the same tournaments I am. That's okay. Uh, Bring it on. I want that. I'm able to. I want everybody to succeed. So that's my goal. I'm not gonna be blowing smoke like some of these professionals out there. I'm gonna be straight of who I like and who I don't like. And some you might agree with, and some you might not. There's a there's a different perspective. There are different ways to formulate a, uh, a lineup, depending on which type of contest you're in. Obviously, if you want a high floor, for cash games, which is your 50-50s and your double ups, triple ups, quadruple ups, head to heads, um, you're gonna be looking at safer players. If your intention is to build lineups for GPP or the big tournaments for the Millionaire Maker and all those bigger tournaments, um, there's going to be some. You're going to be looking at some high ceiling, but there's a risk to those, and high risk, high reward um, type of players. So it's a different style. And the other thing you need to consider is um, ownership. Ownership is huge in daily sports because of the fraction of or the difference between first and 15,000 is like maybe 10 points. It's a lot of times it's less than a point. It's fractions of a point. So it's uh, you gotta separate yourself somehow. And I know that the big hot word in the industry now is being contrarian. Well, yeah, that helps, but you don't want to miss out on some of the chalk either. You can have a mix of the chalk, and uh, the contrarian style, but you just gotta find that right formula to mix and match to make it work, depending on your bankroll. If you have a pretty good sized bankroll, you could create a 150, 200 lineups. Um, you just want your core players, that you're gonna bank on and to use, and then work around those. Um, what I try to do is try to look at the slate early in the week, figure out who I like, who I is who's going to be the decide who's going to be the chalk. Who's going to the chalk means who's going to be high ownership. And and then decide from there. I I tend to look at things a little different. Um, I'll take some, some safer plays on some lineups, and I'll take some high risk. And from games that people don't really uh, target, hoping for the same results. And track record has been pretty successful with doing that. So, and I hope to turn that success in, for everybody watching this. That's my goal. Because the better you do, hey, the better I do. It helps. And I want to put out a good product, and I don't want to be blowing smoke up people's butt. So, this there's not going to be a lot of smoke and mirrors here. So, the people that I suggest playing are the people I'm actually going to use in my lineups. So, combinations of them. So we're going to go through. It's week 10. We're going to go through each matchup, and I know if a lot of people play. I don't know if you play the Thursday through Monday, the full slate. Great, it's a little harder, but if that's what you want, that's great. Like I said, I'm going to go through each matchup, and so I'm going to go through, starting with tonight's game. It's Thursday afternoon. I'm making this video, November 10th. So, and it's about 2:00. So, first game of the week, Cleveland Browns at Baltimore Ravens. Now, on paper, it seems like a mismatch. The Ravens are favored by 10. There's an over-under about 45 points. And a lot of people are going to count this one out or load up on the Ravens. And but each game, I've watched a few of the Browns games, and they haven't lost. They haven't won a game yet, but I tell you, they've been putting up stats, and they've been competitive. So this might be one of them trap games for Baltimore. The players I like on this one, on the Cleveland side, there's only a couple. Maybe the way the game script is going to dictate a lot of this, but the way I see it happening is I could see using a stack of Kessler, Cody Kessler, and Terrell Pryor, or pair him up with Gary Barnidge. Either that, if you want to use a running back, I don't think I'd use Isaiah Crowell, if I could say it right. Because the Ravens are number one against the defense, or against the run. They only allow like 2 point something yards per carry, and so if their Browns are going to be behind, they're going to be playing catch up. So Duke Johnson is a good target here, and he usually catches 5-6 balls each week, and if he turns one into a touchdown, even that's even better. So on Cleveland's side, I may use Kessler and Barnidge and Pryor, and maybe Duke Johnson. On the Ravens side, well, you can load up on their defense. A lot of their games have been low-scoring games. there's other defenses, in the, that are going to be better plays, maybe better matchups, but namely, the Arizona San Francisco game. But if you want to use this one, it's a good way to go. I don't know how many people are going to be on this game, so I haven't heard a lot of chatter regarding the Ravens defense being used this week, so it might be a sneaky play. On offense, there's only a couple people I like. Joe Flacco, if you want, but he averages 250, 270, yards, maybe a score or two, each week. But nothing special. But if you're trying to get that 20 points, or that's all you need from a quarterback, and you might be all right with that. For cash wise, so for GPP, I don't know if I'd use that, but the receivers, Steve Smith is back from injury, and Flacco likes him. He has a good connection with him, so look for at least 7-8 targets tonight to Steve Smith. And the other one is, if you're looking for the home run hitter, you could start Mike Wallace. And last week he had like 4 receptions and over 100 yards and a touchdown. So he's kind of the big play guy. So and they have a connection there, him and Flacco. So you could sprinkle in some Dennis Pitta. It was always good for about 6, 7 targets each week. Hopefully get some red zone targets. And but beyond that, I don't like their running game at all. Terrence West I think he's averaging like 2 yards a carry. So that's about all I got for that game. Moving on to the next game would be Houston Texans at the Jacksonville Jaguars. Ugly game. It's over under of 42.5 points. If you like defense, this might be your game. But it's going to be if you're looking for Houston, Lamar Miller has been a workhorse. And they're going to give him the ball. He's going to get the volume. He could burn, be a contrarian type of play. I know the Jaguars' run defense has been pretty good, but Miller actually can catch the ball out of the backfield too, so that's something to consider. The other people I like are maybe Hopkins. Yeah, you could use Hopkins, but the quarterback is really struggling right now. I don't expect a whole lot of points from this offensive unit. But something happens between these two teams. Seems like when they get together, they tend to have some shootouts. So there's something telling me that if you want to go with a game script and go totally contrarian, because not a lot of people are going to be on this game, you could load up on Hopkins with Osweiler, and or I think Fuller is hurt. So just another sneaky play could be in play is that Braxton Miller, and he might be good for one or two, three catches, 50, 60 yards, and hopefully he hits pay dirt. On the Jacksonville side, Bortles is just, I don't know, you don't know which Bartles is going to show up. So it's hard to guess. But, it's kind of the margin is, the Texans are favored by 1 on this game. So somebody's going to score. I don't like their running game at all. If I was going to pick a running back from Jacksonville, it'd probably be T.J. Yeldon, just because of his receiving skills. Because Chris Ivory doesn't catch the ball. I might. You could do a A-Rob, Allen Robinson, and Bortles stack, or you could use a Julius Thomas Bortles stack. The one person I failed to mention on Houston's side is C.J. Fedora. Try saying that 3 times. He seems to be getting. It's like the second or third target these days, and Bill O'Brien seems to like the tight end. So, but anyway, I'm moving on to the next game. We got the Carolina Panthers hosting the Kansas City Chiefs. With Jamal Charles out, Spencer Ware just got cleared. So I would load up on Kansas City this week. Carolina is giving up a lot of points. Their defense is a shell of what they were last year. I don't know, is that because they lost Josh Norman in the offseason? Who knows? But their defense isn't the same. They're optimistic they can score. So the Carolina defense is in play. I wouldn't count on it because Kansas City's pretty conservative and they don't turn the ball over a whole lot. But defense is hard to predict. So if you're looking for a different defense to use and they're playing at home, I always like the correlation between home defense and the home running back. And because there is correlation to that. So, you could use Jonathan Stewart in play. As in, he'll be underused. So for a contrarian possibility, he may get you 80 yards and 2 touchdowns or something. That might be enough. But for the most part, I'm going to be using Cam Newton and Kelvin Benjamin as a hookup. I don't like Greg Olsen this week because Kansas City's pretty good against tight end. If you have them, the spare money to spend up on him, you can take a chance. I think there's better options out there, but you could take a chance on him. I know they got a good connection, but I predict this to be. I mean, the over/under on this is, was it 48 points? So there might be some scoring, for Kansas City's offense. You can, if you want a different quarterback, you can use. I think Alex Smith is going to play this week, and if he is, you could pair him up with Travis Kelce, and don't think the status is still uncertain when it comes to Jeremy Maclin, but if he sits, Albert Wilson is a sneaky play. Chris Conley becomes, an option also. I don't know if I'd recommend him. The other guy is kind of the home run hitter is that Tyreek Hill. So you could do that, but he seems to do better with Nick Foles behind center, but who knows? And Kansas City's defense, they're getting Justin Houston back, which is going to help a lot. So keep that in mind. I still would use probably. You can use a stack of, or just go with Cam Newton naked. Basically, use him by himself because of his running ability, and running quarterbacks seem to do well against man coverage teams, and which Kansas City employs. So that could be in play. So moving on to the LA Rams. It's still weird here saying that, but against the New York Jets. Now the Jets are at home, and they're favored by 2.5. And LA Rams are going to get cross country. I have a theory about teams that go across 2 time zones. They don't, especially when they're going west to east, they don't perform as well, especially if they're playing an early game. If they're playing a later game, it's a different story. If they're playing a noon game, and for some reason historically they don't do as well. So the Jets defense is in play here, which I do like a lot. You could do a correlation of Matt Forte and Jets defense, or you could if you think it's going to be a higher scoring, because neither team can stop the pass. The Rams, they give up big play after big play. So, their front seven's good, but beyond that, they don't have nobody in the backfield. They're not in the back, quarterbacks. So you could use Brandon Marshall and Uma. I can't even pronounce his name. Eduardo Iguana, whatever. I'll look him up. Even though last week he only had like 3 or 4 receptions or targets. Actually, I don't think he only had one reception for like 10 yards. So that might be a little risky with him. But on the Rams side, you could from a game stack, you could use Case Keenum as a salary punt, and that way you can fit some of the other guys in your lineup, which I'd recommend doing, and hope that the right Case Keenum shows up. So maybe you get some motivation that there's rumblings that Jared Goff is going to take a spot. You might say, hold on a second, So, as far as the receivers for the Rams, I've seen a lot of people that like Tavon Austin. I stay away from him. He's a gadget guy. He's burned me too many times. I'm off of that. But if you want to use a guy, use Kenny Britt. He's he's good for cash. Um, you could use Lance Kendricks. He's like a number two receiver, basically. He's a tight end, so he's cheap. Uh, so you could do a lot with a Keenum uh, Kendricks stack, or you can even do a double stack, with uh, Kenny Britt in there also. And then I would put in, if you're gonna do that, I would put in Brandon Marshall because he's just a beast when it comes to targets for PPR, and that's huge when it comes to uh, DraftKings, especially. FanDuel, yeah, you're more touchdown based there. So, um, next game would be Atlanta Falcons at the Philadelphia Eagles. This is probably one of my favorite games of the week. I I think that Atlanta is gonna, you know, it's gonna be a shootout as far as I'm concerned. Because Atlanta can score on anybody. If they can score on Denver and then Seattle, yeah, then you can't really stop them. So you can load up on if you want to do a stack of Matt Ryan, Julio, maybe some Sano, um, and Freeman is in play because he catches the ball a lot, and that's about it for them. Yeah, I guess you could, from a contrarian part, but it depends on the game script. But you could go with Taylor Gabriel. Don't expect the world from him, but if you get 15 to 20 points from him, you're jumping for joy. So he's kind of like the Tavon Austin. He's kind of a gadget guy, but he's getting the targets also, and he's getting some end arounds and stuff like that. So um, on the Philadelphia side, you could go cheap route with Carson Wentz and Jordan Matthews or Darren Sproles. And actually, there's a guy that I'm hearing a lot about. It's Bryce Treggs or something like that. Bray Treggs. Um, he's taken over the Josh Huff position, and he's cheap. He's like really cheap, at DraftKings. So I wouldn't use Beckham. It just he's a bust in my opinion. So the guy can't catch the ball. Nelson Aguilar, yeah, he's not. He doesn't do enough, for touchdown wise to make it worthwhile. If you're looking for a possession guy, well, you could do worse, I guess, but don't expect a whole lot. But those are the guys in play. I could see using Philadelphia defense even though it might be a higher scoring game. Um, I think there could be some defensive fireworks there that could help with those stats. And when it comes to DFS defenses, you could have a higher scoring game as long as your defense is contributing, touchdowns and safeties and blocks and sacks and stuff like that. So even if they may give up some points, um, they're not gonna. It's not gonna affect you that much. So, um, losing my voice here. Um, Anyway, I load up on this game. That's my favorite game of the slate, probably. Um, Next game is Minnesota Vikings versus the Washington Redskins. Yeah, I'm a Viking fan. Uh, but our offense sucks. I guess if you want to use a couple of the players, all right. I mean, you could say that second week with the new coordinator uh, could help, and the offense did show signs last week against Detroit. Diggs, Stephon Diggs is a target machine too. Uh, there'd be lower ownership on him. Um, if you want to do a game stack on him, when I talk about a game stack, I'm usually referring to uh, using a quarterback, receiver, or tight end connection, a stack, and then pairing them with the opposing number one target, their number one receiver, or if it's a receiving back, their number one target. So you're using three or four people from that same game. Uh, you don't really want to use more than four people in one game because if you overload and it backfires on you, your whole team is stunk, sunk. So for cash games that's devastating. For GPPs, if you want to go balls out, go for it. If you want to try some combinations like that. I know last year, the week I won, I had uh, both receiver and running back from the same team, plus the quarterback tight end connection from a different team. So, you know, you could do it for two different positions, depending on how the games match up. Actually, I had a series of two games where I had wide receiver and running back, both from the same team. So that's the way I formulated it, and it awarded me a ticket to the final. So I think I put up a total of 267 points with that lineup. So it's possible. Um, anyway, um, getting back to the game here. On the Washington side, I mean, the over under on this game is 42.5. Personally, I think it's going to be over. Um, Washington's favored by 2.5. If Minnesota can, their offensive line can give Sam Bradford some time. Uh, there's holes in the Washington defense, and I think Josh Norman is banged up. I got to check on that, but if he's playing, that might be a little tougher for Diggs because he'll be on him. But another sneaky guy, and nobody's going to be on, is Adam Thielen. Um, so if you want to do it and save some money, you could do a Sam Bradford and Adam Thielen stack, and then put in Jordan Reed as your tight end or Kyle Rudolph. Kyle Rudolph's cheaper. I'm leaning more towards Jordan Reed on this because I know he's going to get the targets. If you want to save some money, Kyle Rudolph, because he'll get the targets in the red zone. So if I'm going to pick a running back from either team, I might go either Rob Kelly or Matt Asiata for the touchdowns for the Vikings. Jerick McKinnon, yeah, he could catch the ball. Washington's pretty good against the run, and so if you're looking for PPR, you can take a chance at Jerick McKinnon. Um, and then Washington receivers, you could go with Jamison Crowder. I'd stay away from Deshaun Jackson. He hasn't done crap. And then it's Minnesota defense. I know it's on the road, but I tell you, they're stingy against the pass. But the last 3 weeks, they've been getting showing some cracks in the armor a little bit, and Washington running back could do what Jordan Howard did a couple weeks ago, and so I hope not, but it's possible. So I don't, there are so many other games that are going to be more appealing than this one. I'm just saying if you want to, try some different combinations, you could try a stack like this with even Kirk Cousins and Jordan Reed. That's not out of the question. Or Jamison Crowder. Otherwise, moving on to the next matchup, which is Green Bay Packers against Tennessee Titans. This one there's going to be a lot of action on. This is going to be a chalky type of game. There's going to be a lot of people on Aaron Rodgers, a lot of people on Marcus Mariota. I'm a little worried about DeMarcus Murray with his ankle, with his being dinged up. So I think he'll play. But you could do a stack of Mariota and Kendall Wright. Delaney Walker, I think, is he's dinged up still, and if he plays, you could use him. He's a little more expensive than I like, but you're paying up for a tight end, which I normally don't do. So, and then pair him with Jordy Nelson, because the other guys are the way the Titans defense, their best defensive back only stays on one side of the field, and that's going to be handled by like Randall Cobb or Devontae Adams. So the matchup that Jordy Nelson's going to get is a lot. He's going to get the easier target, easier matchup. So, and then Aaron Rodgers, loves Jordy Nelson. So you could do it, Rodgers, to Nelson stack, and then throw in some, Kendall Wright, maybe a DeMarco Murray. I'm not going to use any defense on this one because it's going to be a shootout. The over-under on this one is 48.5. I think that there's some movement on that, so keep an update on that. I'll keep an update, and as the week goes here, and but that's about all I got for that game. I wouldn't use the Green Bay's running game because they throw the ball like 70% of the time, and just they just abandon the run really quick. So next game would be Miami Dolphins against the San Diego Chargers. Now this game is in San Diego. Now there's the theory of East going West. Teams have a little more success with that. Plus, I believe that's a later game. So I like the running backs in this game. I like Joseph Ajayi, Jay Ajayi, whatever his name is, and then Melvin Gordon. Gordon's turning into a top 5 back fantasy wise the last 5 weeks here, and he catches the ball on the backfield. It's turning into the new. Well, I shouldn't compare him yet, but if he keeps it up, LaDainian Tomlinson, but that's pretty tall shoes to fill. So, now the over/under on this one is 47.5. San Diego's favored by 3.5. Depending on the game script on this one, I mean, San Diego seems to have games that are always in shootouts. And if that's the case, you could load up on the Phillip Rivers, Tyrell Williams, or Dontrell Inman. Antonio Gates is in play. He's cheap. Actually, he's coming up now, but he is a bit cheap. I even like San Diego defense in this one because ever since that rookie linebacker Joey Bosa got up to speed, they've been a different defense. So even though that's another one where you could save some money and hopefully get some stats from the defense, even though it might be a higher scoring game. So, and then you'd have the correlation with Melvin Gordon and San Diego defense, which does come into play. Miami, you could use Tannehill and Jarvis Landry, although I think Jarvis Landry is too far priced. It's just I can't justify a guy that doesn't get in the end zone to be $7,200 in DraftKings. So there's better options there for that price. So you could go with Kenny Stills if he plays for the big play for the home run hitter or contrarian. You could Devontae Parker. Well, yeah, he does some things, but he's GPP only. If you want to save some money, take a chance, go for it. But I won't be playing him. So, next game is going to be the chalkiest other than the Thursday night game. And that's going to be the Arizona Cardinals hosting San Francisco 49ers. Yeah, Kaepernick did throw for 398 yards last week, but only 120 of them were, passing. The rest was like broken tackles and, guys getting loose. So it wasn't all, it didn't do as well as the stats might indicate. So there's things to be careful there. Although I do like DeJuan Harris if Carlos Hyde doesn't play. If Hyde plays, I can see using him because everything funnels through him. So um, I would load up on Arizona defense though, playing at home, and the chalkiest of chalk is going to be David Johnson going up against that putrid 49er defense. So, Carson Palmer's in play, but if there's a chance of a blowout, you might not, get all the numbers, but you can pair him up with, J.J. Nelson or Larry Fitzgerald. I wouldn't use John Brown or Malcolm or the Michael Floyd. Yeah, garbage. Um, and then in a sneaky tight end, you could use Vance McDonald, although the Cardinals have been pretty good against the tight ends the last 2 years. So be careful with that. But I mean, if you need some space, some salary relief, yeah, you can do that. Um, the over under is it's at 48. So Vegas thinks there's going to be some scoring in this one. So, but there's also that blowout factor. So be careful with that. The next game is going to be the Dallas Cowboys and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Ezekiel Elliott, he's always in play. I mean, this could be the over under on this one is 51. So they're thinking Vegas is thinking the shootout on this one. Pittsburgh's favored by 2.5. So depending on the game script, if it is a shootout, I might be a little hesitant on Ezekiel as much. This might be a game of Dez Bryant, Dak Prescott, or Cole Beasley. And then oh, there's my dog. Here you go, buddy. Let's see here. On Pittsburgh side, Big Ben, his stats at home are unbelievable. His road to home splits are very contrasting. And so I would load up on Ben Roethlisberger and Antonio Brown and Le'Veon Bell. I might even play those three in the same lineup and pair them up with Cole Beasley or something like that. That's I don't like either defense in this game, but if you want to hit the home run, I guess you could go back with Sammy Coates and hope he breaks a big one. I don't like. I mean, Jason Witten would be all right. I guess he's coming on lately, but be careful with chasing points from chasing stats from last week. So this week he could be just be a blocking back, a blocking tight end. Depends on the way the game shapes up. So, um, and then we got the last game of the Sunday night, which is Seattle going to New England. Other than the Philadelphia Atlanta game, this is probably one of my favorites, and it's gonna be a lot of points here. I know Seattle's defense is pretty good, but New England, in the last two matchups against Seattle, um, their their tendency has been to throw, 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 throw. And then if that doesn't work, throw some more. And it's been Brady to Gronk, mostly. Seattle's had a hard time with the slot receiver, so Julian Edelman's in play. I predicted Edelman's going to lead the team in targets this week. This could be the return of the running back from what's his name here? Let's see here. Let's see here. Oh yeah, Dion Lewis could be back this week. They expect him to be off the taken off the pup list and activated. I don't know what type of workload he'll have, but if it's a game, the way it's setting up, he could be a sneaky play. He's cheap in DFS. So for PPRs, him or James White, depending on who gets the bulk of the play. But and then on Seattle's side, I should note that if this game does turn into a blowout, which could happen, but Seattle usually hangs in there. But if there's a chance with between these two teams, I like New England defense and pairing up with LeGarrette Blount. Now, if that happens, you can take Brady out and put in a different quarterback for that. But you can create a couple lineups both ways. So that's just the way I like to play it, and it's been successful. If you just say you have 10 lineups, you don't have to spend a lot of money, but just create a variety and set yourself up for a chance to have some diversity. And so on Seattle side, the only people I want on there is Jimmy Graham is going to be shut down, I think, by Belichick. Watch out for CJ Prosey. He's the backup for Christian Michael. Pete Carroll came out this week and said he's going to get the ball more this week. Whether that's true or not, it might be just smoke and mirrors too. But he did outperform Christian Michael in the rushing last week. So and he's cheap too. So you could, for your running backs, you could use Prosey and Dion Lewis. And just hope that pans out. So, the other receiver, maybe Doug Baldwin, because somebody's going to catch the ball. But so you know, Russell Wilson doesn't run the ball as much as he used to. So his stats are not doing as well. I mean, last week against Buffalo, I guess he did come break loose a little bit, but so he's always a possibility. So and then the other games, let's see here, that are in play are where did I just have it here? Here we go. Okay, you got New Orleans at home against Denver. This is a game I'm going to be having a lot of exposure to because a lot of people are going to be scared away because of Denver's defense. Last I heard, Talib is going to be out for the Broncos. Breeze goes nuts in the Superdome. If you want to use them with it's hard to tell which receiver is going to be paired with. But you could do Michael Thomas, Brandon Cooks. I wouldn't use Snead or Coleman. I could see using Mark Ingram. I know he's splitting time with Hightower, but they're both going to get a lot of work. And Denver's susceptible to the running, based on what happened last week with Latavius Murray running all over him. So, on Denver's side, I would use my favorite is Booker, running game, and followed by Emmanuel Sanders and DT, Demaryius Thomas. Demaryius Thomas drops so many balls for my liking, but he does produce too. So that's another game stack you could use. So, and if he did, and if it turns into a shootout, it might be in some good money because there's not a lot of people going to be on that. So a lot of people are going to be scared away by that game. So, I would stay away from the tight end from Denver, Virgil Green. I don't see anything happening there. They might have some exposure to that Bibbs, backup running back for Denver. He did break off a 69-yard run last week, so we'll see. I don't like either defense, but that's as far as I know. As far as what I got right now, as far as the Monday night game, you could do Andy Dalton, AJ Green, or Tyler Heifert stack. I don't like either running back from Cincinnati. If I had to pick one, it'd be Gio Gonzalez, Gio Bernard. And on the Giants side, you could use Beckham and Manning. He might be getting hot right now at the right time. He might have figured some stuff out. We'll see. They are at home, so I'd stay away from their running game. But I could see using maybe Shepard as a sneaky play. You can use their defense, the Giants' defense, possibly. But aside from that, I wouldn't get too cute on those, that matchup. So that's what I got this week. Hope you liked this video, and I'll try to make one each week here, and just keep. I hope these videos help and break it down. Next week I'll try to break it down more and see if we can go win some money. All right, thanks guys.